There's a saying that goes along the lines of time in the market is more important than trying to time the market. And this is exactly what I wanted to discuss today, just how important time is in the market. Just the other day I was sitting on Facebook and it come up one of those little memory notifications saying it's been 10 years since I've purchased my first property. Now, to rewind 10 years, I was 20 years old and really knew nothing about property at this point in time. I purchased the unit just for myself to live in and really wasn't looking at it as a long-term investment. And as such, it certainly didn't perform extremely well over the time. But in saying that, this property did become extremely crucial for a number of steps along our real estate journey, and we were able to really utilize it along the way. So today I want to discuss this property, discuss the purchase price, what we ended up selling it for, the rent throughout the duration, and how we were able to utilize it twice to help us make some further steps in our real estate investing journey. Now, to rewind back to 2011, the world was a beautiful place pre-COVID, but I bought the unit for $135,000. At the time, the Queensland government was doing a first home buyers initiative where they were putting $7,000 towards the purchase of any property, even established property. So I was essentially able to purchase a unit for $135,000, but only paid $128,000 actually towards the property. At the time, the unit was renting for just $180 a week, which, looking back on that now, just seems crazy that rents were once that cheap, especially now knowing where they are today. Now, over the 10 years, I feel that the property really was quite neutrally geared. I never made a lot of money from the cash flow and the rental, but at the same time it never really cost me anything paying the property off principal and interest on originally a 30-year loan. So throughout time and over that sort of 10-year period, the loan originally sat at around $123,000, and when we sold the unit, that loan was sitting at $92,000. So over that course of 10 years, we essentially paid $30,000 off that property, and that was extremely useful, especially when we went on to sell the property and we really wanted to utilize the equity inside it. So to go back to the usefulness of that property, so to really look at time in the market, we paid $135,000 for the property, even though it essentially only cost us $128,000. We didn't actually see a lot of capital growth over that time. The property only went up by 10% over 10 years, which in anyone's books is a pretty terrible investment on face value. But essentially that movement over time and paying down the loan and the increase in rents made that property quite a useful tool. Back in 2020, so last year, we actually remortgaged that property and were able to take a sizable deposit out of it and use that deposit for another investment unit. So we borrowed essentially another $20,000 out of that property that we'd bought somewhat 10 years ago, and that was able to allow us to secure a really good buy at the time, a property that was well below market value. At a time we weren't really considering buying another investment property, but that deal come along that was too good to say no to, and having that property sitting there with a little bit of equity in it really allowed us to utilize and capture that deal. What made that whole sort of deal even sweeter was essentially we took out the loan as a second loan against that original purchase, and that second loan, when we went actually on to sell the property at the end of 2020, that original purchase of the unit that we bought 10 years ago, we'll call that property 1. When we went on to sell property 1, we were actually able to do a security swap on that small deposit loan and move that loan and the security of that loan from property 1 across to the new purchase or property 2. So being able to do a security swap meant that when we actually sold out the property, we were able to pull more cash from it and leave the existing debt and the existing tax write-off against our new purchase. The second time that property come in and was very useful in our property journey is when we actually went on to sell it. So we bought the property for $135,000, we ended up selling it for $148,000, but with the loan down to $92,000, we were able to pull $56,000 out of that property and put that towards our latest property purchase, which settled back in March of this year. So as much as that investment property that we had for 10 years wasn't the most cracking investment property, the fact that we had time in the market and time on our side turned that property into a really useful tool that we were able to utilize a number of times throughout our journey and allowed us to get to the position that we're in today. So I guess one of the key learnings from this is if you are looking at buying an investment property, you might be better off jumping in and doing so today and utilizing time and having time on your side rather than waiting another 3, 4, 5 years until you feel the time is right. As at the end of the day, as it's been said before, time in the market is so much more important than timing the market. Hope that video gave you a little bit of insight, and as always, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to help you on your property journey.